What's up, everybody? We are live. Charlie Marlow here on the Charlie Marlow YouTube channel and Kenny Wallace Media, talking all things sports. We'll talk a little World Series, college football as always, and I usually start with college football and focus mostly on college football. But today, on this Friday, October 24th, year of our Lord 2025, we got to start with the NBA. And I'm not going to lie to you. I never pay any attention to the NBA. As a kid, I did all the time. Loved the Pistons growing up. I grew up in Toledo, an hour from Detroit. When I was real little, we're talking 6, 7, 8, you had the bad boys. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, Isaiah Thomas. I loved that 2004 Pistons team. And we're going to get to that because Chauncey Billups, a great player on that team, is obviously a huge part of this NBA betting scandal, which we're going to talk about. All right. I haven't read every single thing about this scandal. I've read some articles. I've read some of the court documents. And all I can say is, how stupid are these NBA players? How dumb can you be? Do you really think that you're going to get away with this? I understand sometimes too, you're compromised. You're probably in a bad spot betting yourselves. You got in with the wrong people, whether it was these poker games, the mob, whatever it is. A lot of these guys in situations like this have their own gambling issues. They don't really want to gamble on their own sport. They like gambling on other sports. Maybe they play blackjack, poker, whatever it is. But then, as a last resort, because they're down bad with somebody bad, all of a sudden, you got to start fixing, putting your work in on these games. And all I'm saying again is, how dumb are you? Think about the Terry Rozier stuff. Terry Rozier, scary Terry, right? You really think you're not going to get caught when all of a sudden there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars being placed on Terry Rozier unders? Not Giannis, not Jokic, not a star, Terry Rozier. You don't think you're going to get caught? We talked about this with Jonte Porter. You don't think it's the biggest red flag in the history of red flags when all of a sudden there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars being placed on Jonte Porter unders, Terry Rozier unders? Most people don't even know who Jonte Porter is. They know his brother, Michael Porter Jr. We know Jonte here in the St. Louis area, Missouri area, because he played for Mizzou, and those brothers grew up in Missouri. But Terry Rozier, you really thought you were going to get away with this? You don't think Vegas or the sports books would be clued in on this when all of a sudden they go, oh, hey, look, here's our normal handle on Terry Rozier over-unders, and it's X amount, whatever it is. I don't even know. I don't even know why you would ever bet on Terry Rozier. Why would you ever bet on Terry Rozier unders or overs unless you had inside information? Why would one do that unless you're a family member? But whatever the normal handle is on Terry Rozier, you don't think it's just the red flag of the century when all of a sudden it's 100, 500, 1,000x, probably 10,000x all of a sudden, how much money is being bet on Terry Rozier. And it's not just him. Whatever's going on with Chauncey Billups and also these illegal poker games, that's a different story. And I love poker. And that's shady. Shady, shady, shady. If you're screwing people out of their money, you're cheating them in poker. We're not going to talk a ton about that, but that's awful as well. But this stuff with the NBA, Chauncey, my guy, Chauncey. And that's why this one hits a little bit close to home. Because again, that 2004 Pistons team, my favorite NBA team of all time. It was 2004. I had just graduated college at Bradley University. So the playoffs would have started right at the end of my senior year. But then I go back home to Toledo. I didn't get a job until September of 2004. So that summer was a lot of watching the Pistons march through the playoffs. By the way, the Pistons should have won the championship the following year. They should have went back-to-back in 2005. If Rasheed Wallace closes out Robert Horry in Game 6, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I have learned that my memory is not as great as I thought it was. But Pistons should have went back-to-back. Oh, by the way, they also drafted Darko, where if you drafted anybody else in that draft after LeBron, so you could have had what? D. Wade, Chris Bosh, right? Maybe you win 3 championships. Imagine if you have D. Wade on that team, and then somebody's coming off the bench, whoever it is, Rip Hamilton. I don't know. That's not the point. But I loved Chauncey Billups. He was my favorite, my second favorite player on that team. Ben Wallace was my favorite. Chauncey was my second favorite. And I also got the chance to cover those guys. So I interviewed those guys a decent amount. This would have been 2006 and 2007. Got to cover a decent amount of Piston playoff games. This was after, obviously, they win it all in 04. They're runner-up in 05. This was 06, 07. I remember they played the Bucks, I believe, in the first round one of those years. I covered some of those LeBron matchups. It was 07 when LeBron finally took the mantle from the Pistons. Remember, the Pistons, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals a million times in a row. And then LeBron finally won that 07, I believe, where LeBron scored like 25 straight points for his team. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's the number. Anyway, so I interviewed Chauncey a decent amount. Great dude. Great dude back then. I can't speak for anything. I can't speak for anything in more recent years. I didn't even know, honestly, I didn't even know he was a coach. I didn't even know he was the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. I didn't even know that. That's how little I pay attention to the NBA. But this story got me nostalgic. So I actually, last night, I started thinking about Chauncey and Big Ben. I started watching intros. Remember Mason? Mason, who changed the game when it came to intros. And he would say, the Piston won. Red, blue, and white tonight. I'm paraphrasing. 6'3", Chauncey, Billups. Love that. Love Mason. Those intros, I watched them last night. I got nostalgic. I watched those intros. They're freaking awesome. Freaking awesome, man. Mason, they had the pyro. I remember being at those games, those playoff games. And I'd be sitting not courtside, but pretty damn close. They'd let the media sit pretty close, a couple rows back. Sometimes close there on the table. And that pyro would go off, and you could feel it. You could feel the heat when they would have the pyro go off right there. I think it was behind the baskets. Anyway, Chauncey, come on, dude. You're smarter than this. You really thought you wouldn't get caught with all this, with the poker games? Terry Rozier, you really didn't think DraftKings and FanDuel and all these, that it wasn't going to be the biggest red flag of the century? Come on, man. You guys are smarter than that. I thought. Apparently, you're not. We'll see what happens. All right. Moving on to college football. College football, it's a Friday. We're already looking forward to tomorrow, but I was very busy this week. We were at the lake until Wednesday, so I didn't do a lot of videos. Didn't do any videos for this channel. A lot of NASCAR stuff. But anyway, I like to jump on kind of the debates everybody else is talking about because I'm lazy. But this whole idea of if any teams are actually elite this year in college football, I think people like to say that, especially when their favorite team loses. So Oregon lost a couple weeks ago. Miami loses. Is anybody elite? First of all, I don't know the answer to that. Second of all, and I know I'm an Ohio State fan, but I think at this point, you have to at least give Ohio State the benefit of the doubt at 7-0, consensus number one, defending national champs, even though they lost their coordinators. I think you need to give them the benefit of the doubt right now to say maybe Ohio State is elite. And look, Indiana, do I think Indiana's better than Ohio State? I don't. Would it shock me if Indiana beat Ohio State? No. Would it surprise me? Wait, would it shock me? Would it shock me? No. Would it surprise me? Would it shock me? Would it shock me? See, now I can't even think about what I want to say. Would I be shocked if Ohio State lost to Indiana? I wouldn't be shocked. Would I be surprised? I think I'd be a bit surprised. Yeah. I mean, if they play 10 times, could Indiana beat Ohio State 1 or 2 times? Probably. I don't think they're better. But anyway, I was confusing myself there. My point is, Ohio State could be elite. Could Indiana be elite? I doubt it, but we'll see. Could Texas A&M be elite? Sure. And I think we shouldn't just focus on the undefeated teams, right? That's part of my point here. Nobody would have said the Buckeyes were elite last year when they lost a very close game to Oregon. Oregon was very good, remember? And then you lose to a crappy Michigan team at home as about a 21-point favorite, whatever it is. That's a 2-loss team. Nobody would have said Ohio State was elite until they got to the college football playoff and rolled everybody. I'm talking rolled everybody. Tennessee, Oregon, Texas wasn't a blowout. I believe they covered every game. Notre Dame, I think the final margin they covered was whatever it was, 10 points. I can't remember exactly. But after the playoffs, you said, yes, Ohio State, they are elite. So I'm not going to sit here as an Ohio State fan that watched a 2-loss team that had a terrible loss against Michigan, where the fan base was calling for Ryan Day to be fired, which I don't think was a crazy proposition at all. It's just like win a big game, dude. Just win a big game. That's all we're asking for. And he did. And now he wins every big game. So everybody's happy. But my point is, look at the 1-loss teams. By the way, Georgia Tech gets no respect. Georgia Tech is also undefeated. BYU undefeated. Georgia Tech is undefeated at 7-0, ranked 7th in the country. BYU undefeated, 7-0, ranked 11th in the country. But so Oregon, they couldn't have had a bad day against Indiana. Could Oregon come back and win the national championship? Could Georgia 6-1 win the national championship? Sure. Could Alabama 6-1? They're on a roll now after that Florida State loss. Could Alabama win the national championship? Yes. My point is, we don't know who's elite until the end of the season. These teams now are going to be playing, 17 games? 16 or 17 games. If you get to your conference championship game, so you're going to play 12 games in the regular season, you're going to play a conference championship game. That gets you to 13. Depending on the buys, let's just say you have to play 4 games. That's potentially 17 games. So let's say you don't get to the championship game. Let's say you play 3 games, you get a bye, whatever it is. My point is, you're playing 15, 16, or 17 games. Most likely around 16 games if you're getting to the college football playoff championship game. Things change. Teams get better. There are injuries. Teams figure things out. Teams get worse. So I would say I don't even care. I don't even care about the argument. Ohio State might be elite. They might just roll through. Texas A&M might be elite. Indiana could surprise me again after beating Oregon and beat Ohio State. Who the frick knows? Maybe at the end of the year, the best team is going to be one of these 1-loss teams in Alabama or Georgia. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. And who cares? Because all that matters is who's elite in December and January. Who's elite in December and January for a 3 or 4 game span where you really have to earn it and you have to play 3 or 4 games against the best teams in the country. Ohio State last year had to play 4 straight games against top 10 teams. Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame. They proved themselves. You can't look at any of these champs now these days and say it's BS. They're earning it now. Back in the day, You could say, oh, is that team in the BCS, or you had different bowl games or whatever it is. Maybe this team should have made the Final Four and they were left out. They were 5. Maybe they could have won it. Nowadays, you might not love the system, but you got to earn it. You got to win 3 or 4 games, and whichever team is elite will prove it at the end of January. Is that game at the end of January, right? I believe it doesn't go to February. I'm trying to do the math. January, whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay, a couple other things. I was checking the Blues score last night. Again, I'm not locked into all these games. I will be locked in if the Blues make the playoffs. But I was checking ESPN.com and I saw Blues lost to the Mammoth. And I'm like, the freaking Mammoth. The Mammoth? Did I miss that? The Utah Hockey Club is now the Mammoth. I don't hate it. It's just odd. That's the first time I ever saw it. I guess I heard that news and just forgot about it. The Mammoth. Interesting name. I like different names. My kids are into dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures like a woolly mammoth. So I went to Mammoth Cave as a kid. Mammoth Cave. I feel like they had those like stalactites and all that. I believe it's in Kentucky. Don't quote me on that. I remember going to that as a kid. I think they had a campground. Also, we'll finish up World Series. Go Toronto Blue Jays. Is that un-American? Is it un-American for me to want the Blue Jays to win over the Dodgers? I like seeing different teams win. The Blue Jays haven't won since back in the day when they went back-to-back. The Joe Carter days. Cito Gaston. Roberto Alomar. Remember those great teams? Devon White. Who else? Who else on those teams? I'm trying to think. Those were great teams. Great Blue Jays teams. Anyway, I can't remember. I don't have the greatest memory. But I'm tired of the Dodgers. I'm not going to cry about it. Are they ruining baseball? A little bit. Probably getting a little bit out of hand. I mean, they did this for a while. Other teams are doing it too. The Mets, other teams are spending. The Dodgers are doing it better and smarter. You got Shohei deferring, $68 million per year. Insanity. They are the best team money can buy. I don't hate them. I'm kind of tired of them. I think baseball probably does need to do something about this. So if the Dodgers win, am I going to cry? No. But go Blue Jays. I like new teams winning. And hey, because frickin' Canada, our neighbors to the north, they can never win the Stanley Cup. That's all here in America, baby. So we might as well give them, one World Series? They can have one World Series. How about that? Is that fair? All right. That's about all I got. But I got to tell you about Triad Bank. I got props. Look at this. Triad Bank. I actually went there today to drop off a bill. And you go in the lobby, chapstick. They hook you up, dude. Look at this. Chapstick, Triad Bank, chapstick. Everybody, you always need a chapstick. I have a couple Triad Bank chapsticks. And then I went to the party. I told you guys, I went to the party a couple weeks ago, their 20th anniversary party. They had salt and smoke barbecue. Koozies. Triad Bank, 314-993-4333. Triadbanking.com. And also, how smart. They had 2 different kinds of koozies. The koozies for a standard can, and then also the skinnier koozies because everybody's drinking those seltzer type drinks. You know what I'm saying? How smart is that? Triad Bank. Best thing I ever did for my rental property business, bringing all my commercial loans from a big national bank, bringing all my loans from that big national bank that you've heard of that had terrible customer service to a local bank over there in Frontenac, Triad Bank, working with my guy, Matthew Tobin. Fantastic. Relationship-based banking. We bought a rental property this summer. I remember I texted him on a Sunday of a holiday weekend. It was Memorial Day. I hated to bother him, but I needed some documents. Responded immediately. Got it done. Triad Bank. They have retail banking. Hey, koozies. Hey, chapstick. I got a meeting with Triad Bank coming up in a couple weeks here. Talk to them about some stuff. Over there in Frontenac, they also have a Creve Coeur location. Like I said, best thing I ever did for my rental property business, bringing all those loans. I'm not just saying this. This is true. I'm not just saying this. Bringing all those loans to a local bank that I can talk to, call, text, email. They respond immediately. More props. Look at this. Okay. More props because St. Louis Lawn Care came by yesterday and they were doing the winterizer. Your lawn was fertilized today with a winter fertilizer. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much. You can email them, office@stlawncare.com. Give them a call, 314-974-5911. My guy, Tim Jankerson, he has St. Louis Lawn Care. Been working with them for about 5-6 years. They cut my lawn weekly. They do the mulch once a year. If you want them to remove leaves right now, they'll do that. I used to have them do that, but now I got my own blowers and stuff, which I bought from St. Louis Equipment, which is another company from Tim Jankerson, but you can buy your blowers there. I got a Husqvarna fuel blower. I got a Crest battery operated trimmer. They don't carry Crest products anymore, but St. Louis Equipment, stlmowerrepair.com. You can buy a mower, get your mower fixed. Just opened up a new location in Jefferson County. Also, they got locations all over the place. And so this time of year, leaf removal is big. And because here we are, late October, about to be Halloween, close to November and Thanksgiving, but also winter coming, they can do salt, bulk salt, and all that at St. Louis Equipment, stlmowerrepair.com. Boom. There you go. All right. 21 minutes. That's the perfect time. Thank you again to our sponsors, Triad Bank, St. Louis Lawn Care, St. Louis Equipment. We talked about a little bit of it all. World Series. Go Blue Jays. Didn't know the Mammoth was an NHL hockey team. Congrats on that. College football. Is anybody elite? Who knows? Maybe Ohio State. Maybe Texas A&M. Maybe at the end of all this, a one-loss Alabama or Georgia will end up being elite. Who cares? All that matters is who's standing at the end of the college football playoff after 3 or 4 really tough games. And finally, NBA players. How freaking dumb are you? Terry Rozier, my guy, Chauncey Billups. I love Chauncey Billups. Did you really think you'd get away with this? You really think that it wouldn't be an enormous red flag when people are betting tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on frickin' Terry Rozier unders? Come on, man. All right. Peace out. Love you all. End stream. End stream.